Let me ask you this. Why are student loans so ridiculous, and how ridiculous are they? I mean, yes, you pay your student loan back to a bank, but is the bank responsible for the cost of your college education? Let me show you what I'm talking about here, and I've never seen anybody on TV talk about this. Let me show you the line of inflation. This is 1978. That's today. That's the line of inflation. Pretty much what you'd expect. A general, somewhat consistent rise for prices in the things that you buy every single day. Here it is. Kind of goes up. The evil Fed, right? This line's going to shoot up at some point, but it's pretty consistent. Now, our huge financial problems were started by that massive housing bubble, right? It had to burst. It was ridiculous. Watch how we were spending. Here's 1978. Okay? Here you go. You see a little bit right here in the late 1980s. And this was the McMansion period. Remember that? And then this. And it went crazy. This is that huge bubble that almost destroyed the entire country. Prices pretty darn stable. Here it is. Then comes the crash. They go up about the same rate as inflation until about the turn of the century. Then the bubble forms and it bursts. The massive housing bubble that was the first shoe to drop in our economy. We all know what a big deal that was. Now, besides the housing, because we never really dealt with the housing problems. We never really dealt with CDOs. They're still doing CDOs. We never really dealt with Fannie and Freddie. They're still there. We never sent a single person. We didn't even do an investigation on Fannie and Freddie. So nobody's really dealt with this, right? The one thing we did deal with, because we had to get this under control, or we would not survive as a nation, it was the rising cost of health care. Let me show you. Rising cost of health care. There it is. Here's the rising cost of health care. It's been going up at a faster rate than housing. Now, a lot of reasons for that. Innovation, perverse incentives, new and expensive treatments, government subsidies, greed. Yep, all true. And look at how much it has gone up. Here's inflation. There. This line shows that the rise in healthcare has dwarfed the rise in housing prices. So now you can say, okay, well, that's why the president said we had to fix it. Now, I'm not sure why adding more government intervention into healthcare would solve this problem, but that's another argument for another day. We're looking again for the real culprit. What's really behind this? The question we're trying to answer, who's at fault when it comes to the cost of your student loan? Is it the banks? Well, let me show you. Here's your student, here's your, whoa, wait a minute. That's your tuition. You tell me. This line skyrockets above the rise of housing and healthcare costs. It's the cost of college tuition. It dwarfs all the other problems that the media is constantly harping on. When you get a student loan, you're required to promise that you're going to pay it back. The bank tells you up front how much it's going to charge you and what your payments will be. The only one who has control of the amount of loan, the amount of the cost, is who? Because you don't go in and negotiate. They say that's the price, and you either pay it or you don't. The only one who has control of this line are the colleges themselves. They are fueled by a constant societal and media pressure to attend college. Everybody is. That's the theft. Who's roping you into crippling debt? Nobody's forcing you at all to buy a house. No one is. But if you don't have a college education, if you don't have 4 years with this, instead of a .com, you're in trouble. You're not going to get a career. You got to have a college education even if it's not necessary. They're fueled by unending tax dollars. Any politician that opposes more government money for tuition is vilified as anti-education. When this momentum is behind them, colleges can jack up the prices with a never-ending velocity. I mean, look at that chart again. Put the chart up. Tuition prices are rising nearly double the rate of inflation for more than 3 decades, yet no one says anything about that. Not only from the media, but nobody in the government, not even the average person says that. They'll all say it like this: have you seen the price of colleges? It's unsustainable. How are we going to afford it? Those damn banks are greedy. Those damn banks are greedy. The bank is loaning you the money so you can do this. Remember, look what we found. This we were handed on the street. I mean, I wasn't. I don't think I'd be too popular down there. This is Wall Street, an interview with Ward Churchill. Where did we first meet Ward Churchill? Remember? Oh, yeah, that's right. He was the guy right after 9/11 that said, we caused it. We caused 9/11 along with Israel. That's right. What happens? You start your life as a slave to debt, and then you're begging the government to help you take on more debt than any sensible person would recommend before you've earned a dime of income outside of a fast food restaurant. And when the economy goes bad, well, you can't find a job. And you find yourself agreeing with people like this. Look at these people. You agree with them? This is not a coincidence. It's not. Where has I mean, look at the woman dressed as look at the woman jumping with the red. They take a picture of Ben Franklin and put him on the front. They never take a picture of any of these people. Anyway, who has protected the radical revolutionaries of our days? It hasn't been corporations. It really hasn't been government. I mean, when you find a communist in the White House, where do they go? Oh, that's right, Van Jones is teaching at Princeton University. Wait a minute, Princeton University, that's also where the radical revolutionary Cornel West is teaching. And here in New York at Columbia University, of course, you have Rashid Khalidi. And in New York, you also have the grandma making apple pie. What's her face? Frances Fox Piven. Wait a minute. Ward Churchill, we found him at a college too. The same people that running these universities are all the revolutionary radicals. The same people vilifying capitalism, trashing our military, trashing our founders, teaching our children that the Bible isn't true, that the foundation of our country is flawed, that the Constitution is meaningless. They're the same people now encouraging useful idiots to get out on the street and protest the loans that they are paying ridiculous and tenure-protected salaries. Wait a minute. Hang on. So they've caused the problem. Meanwhile, they'll tell you that if you're not a teacher, if you don't have a college education, you're a moron. If you don't have a teaching certificate, you can't possibly teach your children. Yet all the studies show that if you homeschool your kids end up with higher test scores than if they go to regular school. Look at this chart one more time. I know that we built big houses here, 2006 and 8. I know we built bigger houses we couldn't afford. And everybody just started getting in because of the free money from the Fed. We bought a lot bigger and nicer houses than we were building in 1978. Now, I know also that surgery is much more complicated. It's much more advanced than it was in 1978. People were dying in 1978 that shouldn't have died. So I know we're doing a lot more things than we were in 1978. But are we smarter? This much smarter than we were in 1978? Have we become a society of Einsteins? Because look at the top line of the chart. Given that we're now spending 10 times the amount for college that we were back here in 1978, you'd think we'd all be Einstein, who, by the way, did the media cover, we think Einstein was proven wrong 2 weeks ago. We used to look at people who were self-educated, like George Washington or Benjamin Franklin, and praise them for their self-reliance. Look at what this person did. But now we say that if you aren't paying tens of thousands of dollars per year and learn from professors with absolutely no accountability, who are no longer even teaching critical thinking, your opinion isn't worth anything. You don't deserve a job here. I want to make this clear. There are great colleges out there. There are fantastic professors as well. But I think I know who the real culprit is. I think I know who's been setting us up and who's been setting up the average student to fail. I hate to be so childish, but I remember when I was, in like 6th grade, we used to say whoever smelt it, dealt it. Who are the ones that smelt it? Who are the ones who are saying, you got to get on the street? It's a smokescreen, gang. I think we found the people who dealt it.
GBTV. The truth lives here.